Welcome to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast, a podcast about events, travel, and the people who love both. Find more episodes at vacationraces.com.
Okay, Sherry, thanks for being here.
Hey, hello.
Sherry and I don't get to see each other anymore, but this is sort of like we're at a coffee shop in Hurricane hanging out for a minute. I really like it. Yeah, we've been working together for a while. Tell us about your time at Vacation Races so far.
Well, way back in 2013.
Oh, gall. That was 1,000 years ago.
1 million years ago. I was pretty big in the running community. So I was at every event, every race, and if I wasn't running, I was working or volunteering or just cheering people on. So I was known pretty well in the community. And when Salem came out here and was at the running center or at Ultraspire or wherever, like he met with Jason and Lyle, Colleen, me, and two more people were hired to do the first Zion event. I was in charge of the finish line, and there was 600 people-ish there. And I remember, like, we went to Costco for the food to like have at the finish line because it was just so small.
Yeah.
And we were like getting the chocolate milk from the school, and we had to coordinate, and I had to go pick it up, and it barely fit in the back of my Element, and it was just funny, like so small scale. And I now look at the events and it's just this crazy organized production where we have like, we go to Costco for this, we order things like this, we do this like this, and it's just so crazy to go back and think like we were all wandering around Costco like, yeah, what would people like to eat at the finish line? And we're like, we need like 800 bananas, and they're like, what? 800? Okay. And now we walk in and we're like, we need 30 cases of bananas.
Do they know you guys now?
Well, for sure. Well, Lyle, they know Lyle. That's Lyle's job now. My job, from being hired on the first race crew to a year and a half later, being hired full time, I was customer service. So I was hired to do customer service, the registration pages, and basically kind of in charge at the expo. So, or not in charge, but like making sure everybody got their bibs and their race shirts. I remember you did race shirts, and we would always be like, what's the number? What's the total? And you and I were so like, I don't know. The numbers are off. And
then every time we would run out of shirts.
Time. And then we just started expecting it. Well, we're going to run out of shirts. This is what's going to happen, because we were so concerned about numbers and so good about not over ordering and not having waste, because we didn't want waste.
Yeah.
So we're very adamant about not wasting things. Like, we don't need to be contributing to the landfill, and we don't need to be ordering extra shirts. And so we were really precise on the numbers. And, you know, we would run out of maybe 4 or 5 shirts. Like, it's the one
size. Like one size. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that was a fun game where we always knew that was kind of coming up, and we got it this time. We don't.
You remember, so a couple of years ago, I went down to part-time and then went full-time again.
Yeah.
So during that time, I stopped going to events. So it was about a year in between when I had gone to a race, and then I went to the Lake Powell Half.
Yeah.
And I was so stressed. I think you remember, because I was talking to you about it. I was so stressed. I was like, I'm worried that no one's ready, and I'm worried that it's going to be a mess and not organized. And then I got there and I was like, oh, this is like the smoothest I've ever seen it. And then I was like, well, obviously I would hope that we improved after a year, right? Like,
yeah, I think our runners realize this and see it, especially first timers. They'll come to our event, and I think I've never been in the military, but I would say we are military efficient at what we do.
Oh yeah.
And we are so good at it. We're just like, I don't know. I'm impressed, because every time I go to another race, I'm even like, oh, they're doing that all wrong. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm proud of us. Like going back, I even have videos and photos that I had taken over, and it's just so fun to look. I wish I had time to put a montage of all the video I have from the last how many years.
Oh yeah.
If only I knew somebody that could do a video.
If only we had some video connections.
If only we had video connections. So my husband does video and photography, and it's like the cobbler's kids don't have shoes. That's that thing. The electrician's house, like the porch light's always been out for years.
Yeah.
You never have time to focus on the things at your house because you're so busy helping everybody else.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
No, I love your house. I feel like is decorated with a lot of his stuff, and it makes me happy when I see it. His stuff is just it's a very unique style. I like it. Look it up if you guys can. Alex Santiago, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Santiago Photography.
So you were doing customer service and lots of other things. It's weird. Everything you just described, I was like, oh, one person couldn't do all that.
Obviously, because I might have had a couple of nervous breakdowns in between that moment. And so then my job shifted. We were making, becoming a better company. We were making more races. We were growing.
Yeah. And there were some growing pains, right?
Yeah. Huge growing pains. And so my job shifted to things. And then we hired someone to do registration, and then we hired Kaylee to do customer service, and like Kaylee's amazing at what she does, and it's just so fun to have everybody doing their one job, their function. But so I stopped doing customer service, and I stopped doing the registration pages, and I started doing expo management, volunteer management. So I would organize everything for the warehouse and kind of write up I call it the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
It's a booklet, because after Lyle got in his car accident, Salem was very concerned of like the rest of us getting into a car accident and nobody knowing what that person does for a job. So I wrote this booklet, and it's basically how to put on an expo if Sherry hits the back of an ice truck or something.
And truly, we use this all the time now.
Yeah.
Very important.
It goes in the Ark of the Covenant, which is where the Holy Grail belongs.
Yes.
And it's just a box labeled Ark of the Covenant. And then so I did expo management for a few years, and it was a fun transition. I started doing it plus my other jobs, and then as Kaylee took customer service away, it made more opportunity to be more efficient at expo. And I loved it. I think my problem is I'm so goal oriented. So when I'm focused and working, it's hard for me to be customer service like friendly while I'm like, okay, that's great. Here's your bib. I got to go. Like, I got to go do this, and I got to go do this. And then we started hiring our CPC crew, which took so much pressure off of me trying to make sure every booth was perfect, to them making sure the booth was perfect, and helping the volunteers, to me being able to step back and actually talk to our runners and be more like perspective about it, which just brings back the joy of why we do what we do. Just it's so fun to watch an event come together when you've been working on it for so long. And we really
the energy at those races is just so rewarding.
And we really have the best crew. I'm sure every event says that, but they don't know.
Oh, they don't know.
We really do have the best crew.
I'm going to agree with that one. Including the CPC, like, I don't know, just especially even the people who aren't full-time, but like who continue to come work on the cruise when we put on the events is like, they're so important.
Yep.
And help us so much.
And the volunteers.
For sure.
I can't say like how many times a volunteer, I'll be like, you look familiar. Have you? She's like, yeah, I volunteered at 18 events of yours. And I was like, right. I remember you and the 18,000 people I saw this year. But it's so true. We have the same volunteers coming back and back and back. And they run, I don't think AJ's paid for a race in I don't know how many years. Right. He started volunteering and now he's on the CPC. Like, it's just.
And he's invaluable.
It's like, I'm sure our runners think these people work for us because they're there every time and they're like, oh, they must work for a vacation race.
Oh, and they totally know. Like, I'm totally fine saying ask AJ about that, like, or whatever, because he knows what's going on.
Yeah. So funny.
I love it. Oh, I miss going to events.
I know. Hopefully we're going to be back there soon. We're starting to.
I know. I'm curious to see how Rocky Mountain will go here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I still plan on going to Joshua Tree in November, but we'll just see what happens in between. So weird. So then for a minute, you were ahead of Wander Project, which
I
Amy
really
is now
forgot about Wander Project.
Right? Like there was a little moment there, right?
So
Sherry has worn every hat in this company. Truly.
It's true. That it's not true. There's so many other hats to be worn, but
she's worn a lot
I
of
have
them.
done a lot. You just can't get rid of me.
No. We never would want to. Then who would like answer all our questions about how to run the expo?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I forget everything right now. So Wander Project, yeah. So what a lot of people don't know is we had been donating to the National Park Foundation, I think since 2014. So as soon as we got more than a couple of races, we were taking portions and donating to the National Park Foundation. And we did that for years. I mean, I think we got almost to $1 million of donation, 800 and something thousand dollars. And then about 2016 or 17, we started doing charity bibs where someone could raise a certain amount of money and that money would go to the National Park Foundation. Maybe we started that back in 2014. I can't honestly remember. So then we started getting pretty efficient at it, but nobody was in charge of it. Salem would just kind of, I'd give them the numbers of how much was there, and we'd, do our Excel spreadsheet, and then Salem with his math and projection genius would, there you go, get the numbers. And so that was just going, but nobody was in charge of it. So when things were kind of slowing down and we were having the race directors be in charge of the expos, there was I was in this weird lull. So I started taking over the 501c3, and we were going to make it official so that the money was now being funneled through a charity and somebody else could just be in charge of that. And it was going good. We just couldn't get our 501c3 approved. It was taking a while.
Yeah, didn't we only just get that like last week?
A year and a half later, which people said it takes that long, and we didn't believe them. We were like, oh no, we'll get it in like 6 months, but no. So leading up to that, so I did that for almost not quite a year, like 9 months. And then Global Adventures.
Yes. Like when that spot opened up, I remember going, and I know I wasn't the only one. I was like, oh, Sherry's going to be so freaking good at this. Like, this is perfect. This is what this has been building up to so that she could do Global Adventures.
It's hard to see it from my perspective, but after the last few events, I'm like, oh yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
I could see now what everybody else was saying. Everybody else finished the book and I was still on chapter 5.
Sure.
As we all know, I'm the slowest reader of all time.
Maybe not of all time, but
pretty slow.
So you took over Global Adventures. It's awesome.
Global Adventures. Okay, well, I wasn't planning on it. So Global Adventures was about to launch, and the first event, we were doing kind of a test run. So we found some crazy people that would sign up for this brand new thing. When I say crazy, they're just like, yeah, we're in. Let's do it.
Those are my favorite people. They're also like constantly our guinea pigs.
Yep. We had complete faith and they had complete faith in us. And thankfully, we continue to know what we're doing and work really hard at it so that it is what we think it's going to be. So we're about to go to Global Adventures and some things happened where the original crew, which was going to be me, Salem, and somebody else, was going to go to Banff and do the event. Well, somebody else couldn't make it. So it was me, Anna, Lyle, and Salem, and Toby, our EMT nurse. So Dane, Lyle, and me get on the phone and try to quickly put this event together, which is happening in less than a week.
Yeah, we really had to scramble.
Yeah, huge scramble. So we're scrambling, we put the event on, Salem calls every single one of the persons and is like, it's not all put together, but we still want you to come if you want to come. If you don't, you can totally have all your money back. And we totally understand. And they're all like, no, we're in, we got it, we're fine.
Which just, I just love it so much.
It was it was amazing. We're like, oh, okay, it's really happening. Okay, let's go. So we all quickly get to Canada. And this is an important thing. When you go to Canada and you fly, you need your passport. You can't just have your passport ID card.
Gotcha.
So that you can drive across with your passport ID, but you cannot fly across.
Okay.
So just a little bit of, for your information for anybody that's
for
listening.
sure.
Once Canada opens up its borders again to us, then you're going to need to know that. So we get to Banff, and Anna, me, and Lyle, and Toby, and then we hired a couple people up there that we knew to help us be trail markers and trail guides. And we didn't know any of these courses. Salem had known them all, and Lyle had gone up with his family, but didn't do all the courses. So we didn't quite know everything. But we wung it and put it together, and it was an amazing, perfect event that we learned from. We sent surveys out. We were able to walk away with that and just be like, okay, this is how it's going to work. And that was totally doable. And everything was planned well and put together. And besides the hiccup that really didn't feel like a hiccup anymore, it was great.
Which is incredible, because I honestly, the scramble that we had to do, I was like, just unsure what was going to happen.
Yeah. You weren't alone in that.
I know. It was all this.
But I think we're so, we've been doing this for so many years where things don't always go right at an event. And the goal is to not let anybody see that. And I think for the most part, they don't. You could have gone to that event and known nothing happened at all. The only reason they knew something had happened is because we told them, because we're very transparent about what's happening. And I think that helps, because you have to be honest with people and tell them.
No, so that's one of my favorite things about the company is our value on transparency in general. Is just, it's good. I like it. And I think customers appreciate that.
I 100% agree. Yeah. So 3 days into the event, I forget, we're having a meeting, and it's late at night, and we're all just in Salem's hotel room talking. And I remember Lyle was upstairs. Salem was hanging out on his bed on his computer or something. And I'm standing there, and I think I was like, we're going to get the stuff for tomorrow. So does anybody need anything? And Salem goes, Sherry, I think you should be the director of Global Adventures. And I'm like, haha, very funny. And Lyle shouts down, and he goes, I was just telling Brody the same thing. And Brody's like, it's true. Lyle wouldn't shut up about it all day in the car. And I was like, you guys, can we just get through this event? I'm not changing. I just started Wander Project. I'm like, I dove in head first. I'm doing this. Come on.
This is an overwhelming time to bring this up.
I was like, ugh. And Salem's like, I'm serious. And I was like, Salem, I'm about to go to the grocery store and get chocolate milk. What are you talking about? And so I was not in the good headspace to think of this total job shift, right?
Yeah.
I'm a protagonist. Once my map is set, I like to follow my map.
Yeah.
And when somebody throws something in front of me, I kind of go, well, that's not part of the plan. My plan is this way. I mean, I could go that way, but that wasn't part of the plan. I didn't even know that was there.
I need a minute to look at my options.
Totally. My brain, thank God I figured that out about myself, because it has been a frustrating few years.
Yeah.
I just get really angry and feel like I'm backed into a corner and I have nowhere to go. But I realized that I do have somewhere to go. I can either go up, over, to the side. You've got plenty of options. You just have to realize that. So I go get the stuff with Anna, and we're in the grocery store, and I was like, Anna, she's like, oh yeah, Sherry, you'd be great at that. And I was like, come on, you guys, just really not having faith in myself, I guess. So we get back, and Salem's like, Sherry, I'm serious. I want you to think about it. And I was like, oh, okay, I will, but let's just get through the rest of this week. And the protagonist in me, let's just follow them out.
Yeah.
And so that I tell my husband, and I was like, well, so now Salem wants me to do the director of Global Adventures. And he's like, that'd be fantastic. He's like, you'd be so good at it. It's everything you've done over the last 6 years, all compiled into one thing. And anyway, so I give it a couple of days thought. I come home and talk to my kids. we get through the event, and Salem's, oh, this is the best part. Salem has told everybody, because he was one of the drivers in the van.
Oh yeah.
He's told everybody in his van that he's offered me the role. So we're out on the trail, because Salem loves information. Like,
oh yeah.
he'll ask everybody the same question just to get that feedback. So we're out on the trail, and I'm like doing my job and like doing something, and 3 people are like, "Hey, Sherry, are you gonna take the job?" And I was like, "What job? What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, Salem was telling us that you're gonna take the job." And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And then dinner comes around, and now everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was only 23 of us, so it's not like that was that many people.
No, but that's still a bit. That's like a big group.
So they're like, "Sherry, you'd be great at this. This is like, you're just so natural, and this is, you know." I was just like, okay. And so I'm telling my husband, and he's like, "Yeah, it'd be great." My kids are like, "Yeah, it'd be great." So Salem asked Megan. Megan's like, "Oh yeah, she'd be great at it." And so I'm like, okay, maybe I should really put some thought into this, because I mean, people aren't just being nice. Like, they could have just not said anything.
Yeah.
Like,
no, everyone's telling you the exact same thing.
Right. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Let's see what happens, because I love jumping in feet first to anything. I really do. I'm not afraid to try anything, because failure you just learn from. I mean, failing hurts and it doesn't feel good, but I've never been afraid to fail.
Yeah. And that's huge. It's a huge life skill.
Yeah. And so I'm like, what's it gonna hurt? Like, so now it's been a year exactly from
Oh, no
event.
way.
Yeah, everything keeps popping up on my Facebook feed about that event. So it's crazy that it's been exactly a year. It's my anniversary of Global Adventures Director.
Yeah, happy anniversary, Sherry.
Thank you. And I go home and I tell Salem, I was like, "Yeah, I'm in." He goes, "Great, book a trip to Alaska. We're going to Alaska tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, what's happening with Wander Project? Don't worry about it. Just cover it for like a little bit. We'll find someone to take over." And I'm like, and he's like, "Seriously, don't work on it. Just focus on global." Because we had Costa Rica coming up in January.
Yeah.
There wasn't time to do anything else. So of course, the workaholic that I am, I would do Global Adventures all day and then a little bit of Wander Project at night.
I'm really glad we got Amy to take that off your plate. My gosh.
Oh my gosh, Amy is amazing.
She's amazing.
I haven't even been able to spend time with her, but all of a sudden, like, the 501c3 is approved, and it's all because of Amy, and then we've got all this happening, and then this, and every time it pops up in the chat, I'm just like, wow, like, this is everything I wanted it to be, and now we have the perfect person in that spot. Like,
no, it's great. And like our runners are more like invested and active when it comes to the fundraising. Like, she really has done a great job with it.
She's amazing. Like I said, we have the best team.
We really do.
And we haven't even talked about half of the people that are on our team.
Truly.
Yeah. So I quickly go to Alaska and we start scouting the event. And this is still like, I'm not quite sure what exactly I'm doing. And Salem, thankfully, is so good. Like, you can just feed off his energy and like realize where his brain is at. And it's just so fun to watch him.
Yeah.
So we're in Alaska for 8 days, and I think we drove like 2,500 miles. I ran 80 miles of trail. We're just scouting and scouting and scouting. And it was such a great event or scout trip. Then I come home and I fly to Iceland and I go over and check that one, because that one's coming up in June. I have no idea what any of that is.
Yeah.
Then we've got Patagonia coming up. So we quick fly out to Patagonia and do that. And then we come home for like 4 days. Then we fly to Costa Rica. So just like making sure that everything is lined up and in place, because we didn't know exactly. And then we come home and we do our company retreat, and like I could barely breathe because I was just like, I'd been on an airplane since July.
Yeah.
But it was so nice to just be with everybody and embrace the fact of how hard we worked for the year. And
it says something about how great our team is, that like vacationing with my coworkers, vacationing with my team is like a treat.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
I love it. And then Costa Rica happens. Salem's kind of in charge of that one because we're just not sure. This is a real official event. We had 89 participants come, and we had crew that we didn't quite know. Gerhardt, who is amazing, hired a crew, and we had faith in that because we'd met Gerhardt. We knew like it was going to happen, but you're always nervous. You don't know how this is going to go. This is the real, like, we were like, okay, Banff went this way. I think it's going to be fine. And sure enough, it was amazing. And then 3 weeks later, we had the second Costa Rica, and that one I was in charge of, and Salem was my assistant. Ha 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 ha.
The tables have turned.
The tables have turned. And he coached me through it as best he could, and I'm getting a lot better about talking naturally. I love lists, so I love like reading off lists, and he's like, stop reading off your list. And I'm like, I'm gonna forget something. He's like, it doesn't matter, just talk to them. And I was like, okay. But by the end of the event, I was finally doing better. I get nervous. I get self-conscious, like nervous, like I'm going to forget something. I'm going to say something stupid. My grammar's like wrong. But
it's stressful.
It is, but it comes naturally to people. Like, I don't know. That's not something that comes naturally to me. So I feel like I need to work on it and practice.
But it sounds like you feel like you've gotten better at it already.
Oh yeah, I do. I just have to let go of whatever I'm thinking and just be me. And that's why everybody in Banff was like, you got to take this job, because I was just being me. I wasn't scripting. I wasn't doing anything.
I remember when he mentioned it, like, so obviously all these people had heard about it before he mentioned it in one of our meetings, because after Banff, he was like, we were in some group company meeting and he mentioned that you might take over, that you had been offered the job. And I know that I wasn't the only one who immediately like sent you a private message that was like, Sherry, you have to do this. Like,
well, that's funny. I should go back and try to find that old chat and see.
I just love how universal everyone was like so into it. That's all.
That's cool. I love it. I'm so happy to just be a part of this team and get to work on the future and do that. And then after Costa Rica, everything kind of went crazy because COVID and shutdowns and races started canceling, and we were like, we'll be fine by June. Everything will be fine by June. And then a month before June, I was like, oh gosh, we have to postpone Iceland. Like, there's no way we can do Iceland. And then things started calming down a little bit and then coming back up. And then I was like, we're doing Alaska. Like, we're doing it. Like, we have to.
Yeah.
So that's when Matt and I just flew out there, went through the whole itinerary. We had to change a few things because of COVID. There's some restrictions on some things and some other things. But it was a great, quick 5-day trip. We quickly did the whole itinerary. We came home. We have like all the information we need to know to go. It's a small group again, because we weren't pushing registration. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's only 25 participants going, but Alaska's very quiet right now. There's no tours there. There's no anything. So, and plus you're in the ruggedness of Alaska. I don't know if you've ever been to Alaska. There's nothing for miles except for bears and moose.
Oh, I want to go so bad. Those pictures you sent.
It's so good. Mm-hmm. And so here we go. We're doing Alaska in about a month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys just got back from that like a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, Tuesday night.
Sweet.
Yep.
How many days were you there for?
I think we were there from Thursday afternoon, hit the ground running, and we left super early Tuesday morning.
Wow. How many trails did you cover?
So we covered, so we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did all the 6 days worth of trails. And then the last day in Homer, one of the trails got washed out. And the bike team in Ketchimek said that it got washed out. And I was like, sure, like probably one part of the trail got washed out.
Yeah.
And then the running club was like, oh no, it's fine. You can totally run on it. And I was like, okay, well, I have to see it. So we go out there, and Matt and I, it's really funny. Like the first 500 feet into the trail, we see this like washed out section that people had put some boards over that you could totally run over. Yeah. And I was like, is this the washed out section? Like, this is totally runnable. Like, what are they talking about? And then a mile into the trail, the whole mountainside is basically gone. And people have like formed this very small path like on the thing and put ropes up so you can hold it. And I was like, we're not running on this. Like,
no,
not at all. But we finished the run. We go down to the bottom and we're just like, yeah, that's not going to work. So as we're hiking, actually, while we were hiking down, I came across these three these ladies. One had trekking poles, and they're all wearing masks. And I'm like, how are you hiking with a mask on?
Great question.
Yeah, but they're coming up, and I was like, are you guys local? And they're like, yeah. And we were like, there's nothing on like all trails. There's nothing on Trail Forks. Are there trails here? Like, this is the only trail we've been able to find. Besides, there's a mountain bike trail on the side of that one that kind of goes down and across, but you don't get the prettiness of going down the canyon and getting on the beach and running on the beach. So you're more up top. And we're like, that's a great fallback, but that's not really what we wanted. So she starts listing off these trails, and they're more cross-country skiing trails. So they're not really trails. And then we find a few, but they're a mile long. And I was like, I'm not going to make them run this thing like 6 times. Like, it's pretty, but not 6 times pretty. And so Matt and I spend the rest of that night until 11 o'clock at night running every trail we can find.
Oh my God.
Cross-country skiing. And thankfully the sun doesn't go down till 1 a.m. So we were fine. But But we're kind of lost, and we're using Gaia to kind of just see where we are on the trail, and we got lost a couple times, but we were like, okay, we got to call it the night, and we'll go find more trails tomorrow. And so we get up at 6, we go out and do 2 more trails, which one was a little farther away. So I don't know, we ended up doing over 40 miles of trail while we were there, maybe more. It could have been 50. Like, I feel like we were doing over 10 miles a day. But it was amazing, and Matt is amazing at finding things while I was driving, and it was great. It was a great productive, and we were able to come home and quickly put everything together, and anything we had to change, we were able to fix really quick. And it's going to be a great event. Again, like I'm excited. I love Global Adventures so much.
Yeah.
They're just my speed of anything. Up when the sun comes up and down when the sun goes down. Like, and I finally got it after Costa Rica. I was like, oh, people just show up to this planned trip and they're just told where to go. That is the vacation I want. And I'm sure that's why people love cruises so much, because you aren't in charge of anything. I get motion sick, so I'm never going on a cruise.
Right.
The fact that your whole thing is planned, you just get to relax. Go run that trail. Okay. Come back and eat food. Okay. Go lay down by the pool. Okay. Like,
yeah,
it's just planned. And I think that's a lot of runners' joy. Like, waking up in the morning going, oh, which trail should I run again? Like, is there a race coming up? Someone can just tell me where to go run and go run with my friends. And I think that's what it is. We run every day, and running the same trail over and over again, like, as much as you love it, you just want to explore and see the world. And the fun thing about Global Adventures is we get you off the beaten path. We're not hanging out at
tourist traps. Yeah.
Like tourist sites. Like, we'll go see some of the coolest things in that area, but we're just stopping by and seeing that. And then we get to go run somewhere that nobody has probably ever been.
Yeah.
Or you're up on top of this ridge that you didn't even know there was a trail up there. How would you even know that? I mean, thankfully there's All Trails and Gaia and all those things that are starting to put trails out.
But you have to put in the work to find them and then try out the trail. Like, this has been vetted by people who run. And like, you don't have to worry about what your meal's going to be after. And you get to meet all these people. I know everyone that has gone on these trips has just been like, the feedback we've gotten is just, it's been good. It's had some like, here's what could be better, but people just love it.
No, but that's what we need. That's why we do surveys at the end and beginning of all of our events, because we need the feedback. We're busy planning. We don't know exactly how it went.
And we know what went wrong, like, behind the scenes, but that doesn't mean that we necessarily knew what happened from the runner's perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we're like, oh no, it rained all day. And the runners are like, that was amazing.
Right. And we're like, but how could it be amazing? Because I'm soaked and wet and miserable.
You lost your shoe in the mud and you had to dig for it. And that was amazing. Okay.
I love the enthusiasm that our runners find. I mean, we have a great team. We also, I think, have some of the best runners in the world. They're so great.
I agree. And they kind of want to keep it secret, but tell your friends, because we want to be around in 10 more years, and we want to.
We really do. We would love that.
Doing our jobs, because man, we love it. Love it so much. This COVID has been really hard on everybody. And I think every time we've had to cancel or postpone an event, it just feels like this gut punch of, we worked so hard and yeah, we get to do it again next year, or we get to push it forward. But like, you know, anything, like I'm sure the runners are feeling the same thing. They've worked so hard for this event and all of a sudden they can't run it and they can't go, and it's heartbreaking. And to us, it's our events, but I know a lot of runners have multiple, like their every week is planned for an event, and it's a heartbreaking time for runners right now.
I was just talking to a couple guys from Georgia on, it's an episode a couple episodes ago, the Wander Project episode, if you're listening. But they were supposed to go to Yellowstone this year, and they talked about like all the training they put in, and like not only the training, but getting to see what they could do out on the specific trail. And then on top of that, you have the vacation they had planned around it, where they're supposed to go see the park and go up to Teton, you know what I mean? And it's just, we get focused on like, oh, the event's canceled, but like that was their summer. That was the whole plan. And now they have to postpone a whole year. It sucks.
I know.
Especially the training, because now you just have to keep it up, or I don't know, you know?
I know I've been running a lot more than I ever have. Like people always come up to me like, oh, you must run so much. Well, now I do for Global Adventures, but I hadn't run a race in 5 years because I was so busy working. And then when the weekend came, I was like, oh no, my family and I'll go paddleboarding. I just want to be on the water. Or I stopped running, and it's taking a while to get back into running shape, but but I do love running.
I am glad that we have a little bit more time to do stuff like run, like get our, you know, house in order and everything. But I am going to be very happy when we can travel again and we can see our runners, and I can see you guys. I miss you guys.
Yeah, we miss you too, Rob.
Being out in LA. Well, this was awesome. Anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. We've got, 2021, we're going to open next week on the 24th. We will open our Costa Rica events.
Yes.
We have 2 weeks in January, and then we're going to do a new Costa Rica on the Guanacaste side. So it's like northern Costa Rica. I never heard of it, but apparently it's very popular.
Okay.
It was very different than San Jose kind of areas that we were doing our other events. I wouldn't say it's better or worse. It's just a different. So there's 31 microclimates in Costa Rica. So you could go 10 miles one way and be in tropical, and then go 10 miles the other way and be in a forest.
Oh, that's so interesting.
10 miles the other way and you're at a beach. So it's insane how different it all is. Yeah, there's hot springs up there and just a bunch of stuff. So that's going to be our September Costa Rica event, and I'm excited for it. We've got the itinerary put together. As soon as I can travel, I'm going out there to run it all and just put it together. But 100% faith in Gerhard. He's amazing at what he does. So I know it's going to be an epic trip. And then we've got Patagonia. We have 3 Patagonias. We have one in February, one in March. And then we have an all women's only trip in April. Which is, people have asked for it. We asked if they wanted it. They said yes. So we put it out there, and I think we have 60 people signed up for it right now. So there are still spots in all the Patagonia trips. And then we've got Iceland again in June, and I'm working on one that's going to be in Utah called the Grand Circle. And
I'm excited about this one.
Fun. So we're hitting 5 or 6 national parks. Well, the areas, we don't run in the parks.
Yeah.
But we hit those areas and Moab and come around this big circle, start in Zion and go all the way around again. So we hit part of Arizona a little bit and hit around, but it's called the Grand Circle. So Zion, Bryce, Capitol Reef, Moab, Monument Valley, Lake Powell, Grand Canyon. So we should hit all of that.
Some of the most incredible areas in the world to me. I love it. That's going to be rad.
Yep. It's a lot like Alaska. There's a lot of driving involved, but the scenery is breathtaking. It's some of the most beautiful sections of Utah we get to drive through. So, and then we have hopefully Ireland. We're supposed to go out and scout Ireland in August, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to travel out there.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the trip will still happen, but if not, we'll just push the scouting back a little bit, but hopefully we'll be opening that trip up as well for 2021, and that would be like end of August, September time of next year. So
no, I like it. I'm glad that I'm glad that we're still able to go to some of these places and scout them, and that we'll probably be able to hold events there. It's nice too that they are in these remote places and open air and small groups. I mean, it's kind of ideal for the situation we found ourselves in. So
yeah. But we're, I don't know if we get to travel internationally right now. I heard that Patagonia is going to be open at the end of August. Argentina, I keep saying Patagonia, but that's our event. So Patagonia is a national park that goes from Argentina to Chile. So it covers that land. It's not a place. It's just that area.
It's sort of a region, right?
A region, yeah. So Argentina, I got news from Manuel out there that we do get to start, he gets to start traveling to Spain and some other places in August.
Okay.
So, but that's Argentina. Argentina has a lot less cases and they're doing their thing. So I don't know if people can come in, but people can go out. So, so we don't know what's going to happen, but I've got some good things planned for the northern North America, United States area. That we might open up more like the Grand Circle. I've got some other ideas that I'm going to work on just in case we can't travel abroad. We can still do some amazing events here.
I mean, it is nice that we still have Alaska and some places that, are really, really gorgeous and feel far away from home, but, we can still stay within our borders, which is nice.
It's true.
Well, this was good.
This was great. I didn't even get to finish my coffee, but it's just what happens when you're at a coffee shop. You have your coffee and it gets cold and then you got to go warm it up and then.
I know, because of all the good conversation.
It's so good. I just can't stop talking.
All right, Sherry. Well, thank you so much. We'll be excited to launch Costa Rica in a week.
Woo-hoo.